My next guest is an entrepreneur, educator, ambassador, businesswoman, author, and mentor. She owns the largest female-owned workforce solutions company, was the first African-American woman to build and own a billion-dollar company, and one of the richest self-made women in the world. Please welcome to Money Making Conversations, Janice Bryant Howroyd. How you doing, Janice?
Hey, I'm fabulous. How are you, Rushion?
I come on here. She blew me away with that enthusiasm. I love it.
Oh,
I love
no,
it.
babe. No, I got a lot to be happy about.
And I appreciate that. And I'm going to tell you something. First of all, I want to tell you that I'm a big fan. You're an inspiration. Let me get these self things out about Rushion McDonald and my relationship from afar with you. You've inspired me. We had lunch one time. You and I and Steve Harvey sat down, and you set me on the right path.
I remember it was at Kate Mantalini's.
There you go. I got to tell people this story. This is an honest story now, because we was meeting, and she was doing some stuff with North Carolina A&T, and she's a trustee there.
I did,
You see? Love her. And you know, I was just selling me and Steve on her. I was just telling her about Steve. She said, stop. She said, stop. Excuse me. She said, you are a very talented young man, but you're not saying anything. You know, and basically you told me I was all hype, and I need to take my talents and put it in goals and move forward with proper action. And nobody had ever told that to me in my life. Nobody ever told that to me, because I was always smooth. I knew how to talk, but I went into the Holy Grail. This is the Holy Grail. I ran into it. And she said, stop this nonsense. You're not fooling me. Go back home and do your homework. And I did. And because of that meeting, that's why Steve had a bestseller that sold over $3 billion. That's why Steve got Family Feud. That's the #1 game show in America. That's why Steve Harvey now is the #1 talent in the world, because of my lunch meeting with you at Kate Mantalini that you remembered. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, you know what? We got a lot of people to thank, you and I, don't we? Because it's paying it forward. Or as I say, you're paying it current. You know, some of us are just catching up. We're not paying it forward yet.
You know, and that's what you did for me, because you know, when I look at your resume and I look at your value system, I see your value system, because I'm writing a book now, too. And one of the things in my book I'm writing about, Janice, is about a balanced life. And I remember in that short lunch meeting with you, you talk about you love to cook. You love to cook. Here's a lady running a billion-dollar company, thousands of employees, Fortune 500, and you were just talking about your love to cook. You love to have a good meal on the kitchen table. You know, that balance.
You're talking about, when you talk about the company, when you talk about the employees, you're talking about family, and you're talking about a very defined evolution. However, you're also talking about a little colored girl from Tarboro, North Carolina, one of 11 kids, same mom, same dad, and some very, core principles that we all grew up from. And the table was the center of our home, and prayer was the center of our lives. So, am I not going to cook? Come on, I can cook.
But you don't expect that. I'm just telling you that, I'm a stranger, but you were willing to share with me your values. And I think that openness is what makes you very special. I know you're used to the praise I'm giving you, and I'm sure you receive a ton of awards, but you have a walking ability to shape people's lives every day. And that's important for you to hear that. And because of those values, they've shaped me, Rushion McDonald, and making me the person I am today just with a short 30-minute lunch. You changed my life.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Let us both be grateful to that.
And I am very grateful. Now, let's talk about how you became this mega self-made female billionaire that started in 1976. How did that get into your head that this is something you can do as an entrepreneur?
Let's first say that I never saw it, and different people take different paths.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
This is not to suggest that I prefer one path or another for any particular person. We're talking about my path.
Yes, ma'am.
My path was always centered around the idea that I would seek success through service. And I know that lots of people teach their kids how to look to certain incomes, or
Yes,
they
ma'am.
send them to universities aspiring to certain levels of income for their degrees. And we use money as a measurement for many things, but it should never be the measurement of success. Mother Teresa died successful and penniless. Gandhi. So we've got models of success where you make a difference in the world and you provide for people, and that doesn't always mean that there's that money indicator for yourself. For me, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And as long as you're continuously growing, you know, my husband loves to say, when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. As long as you continue to grow, I think there's success in that. Now, how did I choose the path that I'm in? Basically, I came to California from North Carolina and didn't find a job that I thought was to what I wanted, and decided to temp for my brother-in-law. Did some work in his office. He loved it when he came back, and he said, wow, you've got a talent. You really should be doing this for a living. There was not a 3-year business plan in front of me when I started my business. There was a plan to be of service to people and to utilize what I did well, and he helped me to find that.
That's amazing. Now, that happened in 76. That's when you had a temporary secretary job with your brother-in-law. And then in 78.
That's when I started my company.
That's when you started your company. And he was your first customer.
He was my first customer, and he was one of the most significant ones for me, and I'll tell you why. He didn't he was a brother-in-law, so he would always tell me, ain't no blood in my game, the blood's on you. And he was a very, very strict guy. But, you know, I learned a lot from a lot of people when I came out to California. So much of who I am was taught me and fueled my desire from North Carolina. But coming to California taught me a lot. I mean, you think about this, Rushion. Here I am, this little nap-headed girl out of Tarboro, North Carolina, and I come to California where everybody is gorgeous and everybody carries a purse with somebody else's name on it. Look, back in the day, nobody wore pantyhose. Some of your listeners probably don't even know what pantyhose are, you know?
I got 6 sisters, I know.
Totally freeing environment with streets lined with palm trees, and so basically I'm describing a duck out of water, or some people would say a fish out of water, right? But with the help of my sister and a great foundation, I learned to swim. And I think everybody can do that for themselves, you know, to different degrees. I think the trouble people get into, Rushion, is when you look at people's success and you identify what success means to you by some of the physical things they have instead of some of the physical things they do. I love to remind anyone in my presence that success for me is not a noun, it's a verb.
Let's talk about the whole thing of success, because this is one of the major reasons why you're on this show, is that Earl Nightingale. A lot of people. If that name doesn't, let me give you a little background about this gentleman. I call him the father of motivational speaking, because at the age of 35, he wrote a speech for some salesmen. He just wrote it for them. It was called he named it "The Strangest Secret," and he later played for the salesmen. When he came back, they all wanted to get a copy of it. Well, he didn't have a copy. He just created it for them to hear, because he was out of the room when it was playing. Well, he went to Columbia Records. They recorded in 1956. Now, get this. He's 35 in 1956. It sold over 1 million copies. It went gold, led him to a life of a millionaire. The reason Strangest Secret was evolved because he grew up a poor person. And he couldn't understand why some people had money and other people did not have money. So he researched and he became an educated man, and that's how The Strangest Secret evolved. And you got to read it. So tell us your relationship with that, because that's what we're going to be talking about from now on to the next break, because that's an amazing, you know, when you heard it for the first time, you was like, I do that already. I do that. And
well, here's what I got to tell you, Rushion. First of all, when I read The Strangest Secret, it immediately became one of my favorite books. And it's such a tiny book, most people refer to it as a pamphlet. However, what's exciting for me is that I was able to take those very well defined thoughts and principles and apply them in a real way in my life. And I will tell you, it was so exciting and so fundamental for me to keep using this book. All these years since 1978, I've never not had a copy of that book with me. However, I thought about it. I speak at a lot of universities, and lots of young people run up to me and ask me, and I refer them to the book. And then I thought about it. You know, the book is really, number one, it was originally written, and Earl Nightingale's audio version was written toward a time in our history when you were speaking to men, when you were speaking about the types of success that he described, and his different thoughts on how to achieve it. So I reached out to Vic Conant of Nightingale Conant and said, I want to refresh these teachings. I want to make them highly inclusive, not just of gender, but of age, culture, wherever you are. And I want to be able to produce them in audio form and video form. Vic Conant is one of the greatest guys alive. He immediately said yes. We went through no long legal wrangle. We agreed on what we would do, and now I got The Strangest Secret out on, because I have it out now. I'm so excited to tell you that your folks can get it by going to Nightingale.com if they want to, or they can look it up on audiobook and Audible, and it's available on video segments on YouTube and Facebook. We put it out in every way that we can so that everyone can enjoy it, regardless of where they're coming from, as long as they want to be going somewhere defined.
And I really want the people to understand how valuable. I'm gonna give, before we get out of this break, I want to give out like a couple of jewels out that book. Like, here's some 5 steps, and people should write down what we're talking about right now. 5 steps. Here they are. Number 1, you will become what you think about. You will become what you think about. If you think you're a loser, you'll be a loser. If you think you can be a doctor, you will do the work to be a doctor. Imagination, which number 2, which means let your mind soar. Don't stop yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Number 3.
And you know, Rushion, I also say you got to play the music that takes you where you want to go.
There you go.
When I read about imagination, I knew it was there for me, because my favorite song in all the world is Imagine by John Lennon. Now, I happen to listen.
Come on, girl.
Artist as well, but when it just all flows together once you get in that mindset. But go ahead. You wanted to give 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, and 3 was, you can stop me because this is your show now. This is your show, because I brought you on here because you have success. See, the thing about it, Janice, that I want everybody to understand is that there's a lot of people write motivational books that have no success. They're just talking hype. See, you're not hype. You're the real deal. And so to have you on the show telling people, that's why I want them to hear why they should go to Audible books. You should go to YouTube to pick up those pamphlets, because you're telling the truth. You're evidence. Like you said, I've had this since 78. A very tiny pamphlet made me a self-made billionaire, female. We'll be back with more, because I'm going to tell you something. She is on a roll now. If you want to know how to be famous, you want to know how to be successful, come back and hear more from Janice. The Strangest Secret is powerful.
We'll be right back with more from Rushion McDonald and Money Making Conversations. Don't touch that dial.
Money Making Conversations continues online at www.moneymakingconversations.com, and follow Money Making Conversations on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time you stop thinking about your dreams and put some plans into action.
Hey, this is Tasha Evans, and I love to eat at great restaurants. And more than that, I love great desserts. So does Rushion McDonald. Check out his new website. That's www.rushionmcdonald.com. That's RUSHION, and McDonald is spelled just like the famous restaurant chain. Guys, Rushion is looking for great bakers for his Baker Spotlight. He wants to brag on his fans for their incredible baking skills on his social media and website. That can be your mom, friend, coworker, or relative. Spread the word today. Visit RushionMcDonald.com.
Hi, this is Rushion McDonald, the host of Money Making Conversation. You say to yourself, who calls Rushion's show? Ricky Smiley!
You got to get out of your own city and leave in order to grow, because a fish don't get bigger as long as it's inside of that fish bowl.
Yes, sir.
A fish get bigger when you put it in a pond.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the phone the one and only Charlie Wilson.
So many people have really been trying to get me to do a gospel record for so many years, and I have been promising God that I would
that I would shout him out to do something.
Right.
I said, you know, and
Burn rubber. There goes my baby. Come on, man. Put a little Jesus in them songs. Come on, brother. Miss Patti LaBelle.
And you know what I'm going to be doing? Concerts in little clubs. With the,
Thank you.
with the trio.
Woo!
So that I can touch you when I'm singing with my hands.
Thank you.
See, I told you. Be there every Monday, 10 a.m. to noon. Biz 1190, Money Making Conversation. Hi, this is Rushion McDonald. Money Making Conversations. On the phone is Janice Bryant Howroyd. She is the CEO of the largest female-owned workforce solution company called Act One Group. Janice, you still on the phone?
I am. Yes, I am.
Tell us about your company that I've been bragging about, and we heard about how it started. Tell us about its present state and 19 countries, 2,600 employees, 17,000 clients. Give us some more detail about the goal and the drive of this company.
Well, you know, the center of our organization, our core thought is that the applicant is the center of our universe. We're all about the worker and have been from the beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
There are three key brands that most people know that make up the Act One group. They are Apple One, which is staffing everywhere and has the different elements of unique staffing offerings underneath it, like All's Well, Tech, that indicate what they offer. Then we have background checks through A-Check Global, and our flagship company that escorts us across the world offering talent services to mid and large size enterprises is Agile One. Agile One offers so many opportunities for companies to utilize our technologies, utilize our processes, and basically helps them to not only plan and manage their workforce, but to ensure that they're doing it in a most deliberate way. So I'm very excited. We design our own technologies, and they're all cloud-based, so we're taking care of the risks that come along with having companies that are driven in a very technological era.
So that meant, what I like, this is what I hear. You're not a person who's afraid of change.
Well, we innovate change, and I'll tell you, when I realized that as a minority-owned company and a woman-owned company, I was competing against some very major publicly held enterprises. Right. For clients, I had to do something different. I had to meet the same price points. I had to meet the same service level agreements. We call them SLAs. And I was doing it for oftentimes less than 5% of the total spend. So you've got to figure out whether you're going to stay in or whether you're going to, leave. I decided to stay, but I had to be smart to stay. And that was really what founded the beginning of Agile One and our step into creating technologies that help, but always that help the worker to have the best experience.
That's really important. So now I've set the basis of who you are. Tell us about your ABCs for success.
About that, Rushion, I'll tell you why. Because whether I'm talking to Girl Scout troops in North Carolina or universities in California, the ABCs apply for anybody who really wants to have a successful life. First, let me tell you what I can't teach you. The ABCs are what I can teach you. What I cannot, there are 5 things that nobody can teach anybody, and I hope you take note of these, okay? Because we talked about 2 of them at that lunch years ago at Cape Mantalini.
Yeah, I know.
One thing I cannot teach is experience. The second thing I cannot teach is common sense. Now, a lot of people know common sense isn't that common anymore, okay? The third thing I cannot teach is confidence. When you marry experience to common sense, you gain confidence. The fourth thing I cannot teach is anything that you don't want to learn. And the fifth thing I can't teach is anything at all if you already know it all. So I'm going to teach you my ABCs on the foundation of you understanding what I won't teach you. Those are things you have to use these ABCs to teach yourself. And the A is to ask the right questions, then listen for the right answers. Rushion, so often people are so busy with their next question, they're not hearing the conversation at hand. Or they're so full of questions that they don't find that quiet time to listen for the answer. Whether you're biblically based or whether you are an evolutionist, you know that listening is a large part of living life well and living life in cooperation with all the things you wish to achieve. And listening also helps you to understand how to be a better giver. So although that A is about asking, it's also about listening for that right answer. And then the B is about being. Be where you say you'll be, when you say you'll be, and most importantly, how you say you'll be. You know, we've all got these devices on our cell phones, iPads, cars, that can tell us what time we're going to get there, which direction to go. Basically, they can tell us when we're going to show up, but they can't tell us how to show up. We have to do that for ourselves. And so it's important that you instill these ABCs as a lesson path in the order that I give them, because it's only after the listening, the asking, the listening, the asking, the listening, that you're able to be how you say you're going to be. So be where you say you'll be, when you say you'll be, how you say you'll be. And then that C is about circular communication. Sending a tweet, sending a text, I mean, that's not communication. It can be marketing. It can be advertising. It's the full circle of conversation that moves you towards success. And many people are very competent when we interview people in our offices today, Rushion, do you know over 65% of the people we interview who are under 35 years of age, age is not something we ask, have their own websites. So everybody's invested in the idea that they have a brand, but it's important for people. I shouldn't say but. My daughter said when you say but, that means everything you just said is no longer true. It's important, Rushion, that we understand that branding isn't just about what we want people to see. It's how we communicate with the people who actually see it. Does that make sense for you?
Absolutely makes sense to me. Because of the fact that's what I'm telling you. You're telling the truth. You can't, like I said, you can't make a turtle a horse. Okay, you have to be like you said earlier. It's the music. Is it playing the right music for you to succeed in? Is it the right lane, the right opportunity? But most importantly, I would tell people, don't look at yourself as an employee as just an employee. You are a brand, and you said it right there. People got websites. I said when you have social media, you become a brand. If you log on to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you are a brand, because suddenly you're telling people you need to start acting like that and start representing yourself in that manner, and that's important.
And here's the thing: when you log on to social media, you're logging on without a license. All you need is access, and there's danger and opportunity in that. You know, every opportunity has a danger attached to it. You don't get to take it back. You've got to be very thoughtful. When people come into our offices for work, when clients want us to represent them, it doesn't matter which side of the work equation we're on, that brand matters. There are young folk today who come into our offices who won't work in certain companies because they don't like the values that the companies exhibit, or they're unhappy about something they saw on the news. Brand is king, and I'll tell you, communication is queen.
I love it. You know, I'm doing a series. I'm looking at what you're doing now. Is the ABC, is that in a book form or an audio form? The ABCs of success?
I haven't put it on audio
Come on
yet.
now.
I haven't put it on audio yet.
Come on now. You know I'm mad now.
I've been teaching it all around the world.
You taught me. You taught me in Cape Madalini. I'm living proof it works. I'm living proof it works. If you listen.
We talked about these things, Rushion.
And the thing about it was that I didn't ask, but you taught. And that's what I'm saying. That's by giving back. That's by breaking down to just anybody. Now, there are certain places where you are speaking. I want to bring out, like March 9th, you're at the South by Southwest, correct? And then
That's right. I'm head. Oh my goodness. I'm headed to New Jersey to meet with several clients, and then I'll be headed to Austin. Yes, I will.
Now, do you have a website where they can go right now? Because I want to get this information out because you're so dynamic, and people should not only hear you but see you in person and walk up and realize you just a regular person. I kid you not. She is the real deal. She speaks and she articulates success, but she's also, you can eat a hot dog and a hamburger with some fries with her, and you will not. You go, it's the same person I'm talking to.
Sweet potato fries.
Come on now, you know what I'm talking about. She's the real deal, and that's what I love about now. The thing about it, when I talk about success with you, are there anything that when because everybody wants to be successful. That's what Nightingale talks about. Everybody sits down, they want to be success. When the version of Nightingale and the version you did, like I know you added Nelson Mandela, you added some quotes from Mary Kay. How did you reshape it so we can understand and appreciate the full value of what he was doing in 1956 before we leave?
Well, the bottom line is the truth is, did you hear what I said?
The truth
is how we hear truth oftentimes is more shaped by its framing than its content. And so it was important for me to make sure that we gave relevant notices to people who people today can relate to the audience I want to reach, and to make sure that we're speaking to all genders. It's really important to me that we're able to be inclusive in how we're teaching, because if we're messaging to one part of a conversation that can be so helpful to so many, then we lose the opportunity of the gift that we're really giving. And so for me, it became important to just be inclusive to everyone I want to talk with. And if folks want to know, what's up, they can go to my website, jbh.com, and they can follow me at J. Bryant Howroyd. I'm really happy for them to follow me. I hope some of your listeners will be doing that.